so triangle, area is equal to 1/2 the base times the height. Trapezoid. Trapezoids don't always look the same. So this is an example of a trapezoid, or this could even be a trapezoid. Okay, can you see that? And so with trapezoids, you have two bases. Your two bases are going to be parallel with each other, but they're different lengths. So when you're solving for a trapezoid, the first thing you're going to do is take those two bases. Okay, let's do this top one. Say it's 10 and 12 with a height of 8. Okay, so base 1 plus base 2. 10 plus 12 is 22. Half of that, cut it in half, would be 11 times the height of 8 would be 88. Okay, so you add your two bases and then you cut them in half. Cut your answer in half. Whatever you get multiplied by your height, okay? And I'm going to do some practice problems in another video, but this is just to try and help you understand the formulas. Parallelogram. Parallelogram has two sets of parallel lines. Something like that. Each pair is parallel, but you have no 90-degree angles, okay? So the formula for a parallelogram is base times height. And so again, they have to hit at 90 degrees. So this could be your base, okay? But your height would have to be shown somewhere in that parallelogram where it's got a 90-degree angle, okay? This would never be your height if this was your base. Think about how you measure your height. You don't measure your height leaned over. You stand straight up to the ground, okay? So when we're talking about height, your height has to go straight up from the base, okay? 90 degrees. So parallelogram, it's just base times height. Finally, we have a circle. Okay, now to measure a circle, the formula is area equals pi times r squared. R stands for radius, and radius is one way that you can measure a circle. So when you measure a circle from the center to any edge, that is called the radius. That's the radius of a circle, from the center to any edge. You could also measure a circle from edge to edge through the center, okay? That is called a diameter, from edge to edge. What we know is the diameter will always be twice as much as the radius, or the radius is always half of the diameter, okay? And so when you're being asked to find the area of a circle, pi r squared, pi times the radius squared. That's what we're doing. Now, you've probably heard of pi before. It maybe has been a little while. So pi is a number. Okay, now it's an approximate number because it's a number that actually never ends, continues forever, and never repeats itself. But generally speaking, we use 3.14 for pi. So when you're going to find the area of a circle, you just multiply pi, 3.14, times whatever the radius is squared. Okay. So again, use your formula sheet and work through some of these worksheets. I'm going to start, I'm going to do a little bit of work on rectangles and parallelograms. Let's look at that worksheet. I'm not going to go into triangles or trapezoids or circles yet. I'm going to save that for my next video. For right now, let's just focus on rectangles and parallelograms. So we have one sheet with that. Well, I'm giving you this area packet, which gives you a good explanation. It shows the things gridded off, goes through each of the formulas. It even throws in a rhombus, which we're not going to worry about a rhombus. And then it has some practice problems. Okay, so that's a pretty good packet. Right now, we're just going to work on this one a little bit. Areas of squares, rectangles, and parallelograms. Okay, so take a look at number 1. First off, what shape is that? Think about it. What kind of shape? That's what you should be asking yourself. What shape is this? So that's a parallelogram. And so you go to your formula sheet, and hopefully eventually you have these memorized, okay? Go to your formula sheet and look up parallelogram. And when you do, you can see that the formula is base times height. Okay, so when you look at number 1, you can tell it's a parallelogram. They only give you 2 numbers. So, I mean, that makes this actually pretty easy to do because it's got to be your base and your height. But how do we know that's your base and your height for sure? Well, the way we know is over here in the red, they've had to give us this information. We need to see a 90-degree angle between the base and the height. So we see it here. So our base is 7.7 and our height is 2. Okay, so 7.7 times 2. Base times height. Work it out. 14, 15 over 1. All right, so the answer to the first problem there would be 15.4 square meters per area. All right. Let's go back to our sheet here. Go down number 3. Number 3 is a rectangle, which has the formula length times width. Okay, in this case, 6.9 is the width and 2.4 is the length. So we're going to multiply that out. Just real quick review, when you're multiplying decimals, first off, you're just going to multiply this problem out like it's 69 times 24. You're going to worry about that decimal at the end, okay? So 9 times 4 is 36, 6 times 4 is 24, and 3 is 27. When you move over to the 2, you have to move over in your answer. 2 times 9 is 18. 2 times 6 is 12, plus 1 is 13. Okay, so 276, 138, and you get 1656. Now here's the part where we figure out the decimal. So the decimal goes in here based off of how many decimal places are in your problem. So we can see 2 decimal places in our problem. So we're going to move it 2 places from the right. 1, 2. So our answer is 16.56. That's listed in inches. So square inches. All right. Let's go to another problem. There's another parallelogram. Let's see if any of these. How about let's do 12. That one just looks a little different. Okay. Number 12 is a parallelogram again. It's just kind of going a different direction. It's kind of like that. 15.2 meters, 20 meters, 18.8 meters, okay? So here we are. Now, it's a little bit harder than the last one that we did because there's 3 numbers here. So here's where we have to know that our base times our height have to hit at 90 degrees. All right, so if you look this formula up, parallelogram, the formula is base times height. And so here's 3 numbers, we only need 2. Which ones do we need and how do we know what they are? Well, if you remember, base and height must hit at 90 degrees. So when I look at this, I need to find the 90-degree angle, which is here. Okay, so the 2 numbers that make the 90-degree angle, the 20 and the 15.2, those are my base and my height. Okay, you may have a problem with that because it's a lot of times you feel like your base is where they're sitting and the height should go up. Well, that's exactly what would happen if we flop this over, okay? If we put that 20 on the bottom, then the 15.2 would be coming up. But just know your base and your height must hit at 90 degrees. So 20 times 15.2. Okay, work it out. 3040, got to figure out where that decimal goes. Again, go to your problem. There's 1 decimal point in the problem, so I come over 1. So the answer for area of that parallelogram is 304 square meters. Let's see if there's any more. All right, and then this one has answers, so you can definitely go through that. Okay, so I encourage you to do the area of squares and rectangles. You can maybe look at this area packet and, you know, kind of keep going. We'll talk about triangles and trapezoids, circles in the next video. It's just going to be strictly working out problems and using those formulas. So for right now, what I mainly wanted you to do was understand that area is a way to measure space, flat space, okay? It's always measured with squares. How many squares fill a space? And we figure out how many squares it is by using formulas, depending on the shape, all right? We also talked a little bit about perimeter at the beginning, which is very easy to understand, which is just a measurement around a space. So when it comes to shapes, just add up all the sides on the outside. Add them together, okay? And that's going to be your perimeter of the shape. So hope that was clear. Hope you understand what area is, and look forward to next video on triangles and trapezoids and circles, okay? And we'll do some practice. So thanks for watching.